Mark, I do it every weekend, and it's important, even when we're in session back in D.C., to be home with the people you're honored to represent. And I retired I retired 2 years ago after 30 years in the Marines, reserves and active duty, and so if I wasn't doing reserve duty, when I was a senator, then I was going home. So, no, I spent a lot of time on airplanes, and, I try to stay fit still, get up, do my morning runs here in DC, but, I work hard, and my colleagues, my team, but Alaskans work hard, right? And so that's what they expect out of their, senator. My opponent doesn't really have that reputation. She served as a Bethel City Council member, missed over 1/3 of her meetings for her time in the Alaska legislature, and the Congress average vote missing was 20%, 1 in 5, if you can imagine that. And then got fired by Alaskans and became a DC lobbyist, and evidently didn't show up in that job much either and got fired there. So this is all about record and vision and hard work. But yeah, I do it every weekend, and I love it because it's a real privilege and honor to serve the great people of Alaska.
And you've made a lot of advances working with President Trump and so forth in creating jobs up in Alaska. And, people don't know this whole history of ANWR and how ANWR was supposed to be the little piece of Alaska that was set aside for drilling. And now everybody thinks it's supposed to be a national park. Certainly the Democrats do. Look, if they're opposed to nuclear power, if they're opposed to all these other sources and opposed to oil, I mean, what do they want us to do? And, of course, this is the lifeblood in many respects of your state, right?
100%. And, look, one of the core elements of the far left at the national level is when they get power, they try to shut down the great state of Alaska. This is because the radical far left environmental groups are all about trying to turn my great state into a national park. It's, of course, kills thousands of jobs. And it's horrible for Alaska, but it's also horrible for the country. When you take off the table for America, the one state that's got more critical minerals and energy, than almost any other place in America and in the world, it hurts the country out. And let me just give you an example. When Biden came into office, they issued, the Biden administration, 70 executive orders, 70. That were exclusively and singularly focused on Alaska. These weren't executive orders that hurt West Virginia and North Dakota. 70 that were meant to shut down only Alaska. Now, to your point about Republicans and President Trump, day one of the Trump administration, the president issued an executive order called Unleashing Alaska's Extraordinary Resource Potential, and the point of which was to unleash Alaska and to get rid of all the Biden executive orders. Biden sanctioned us, Mark, more than he sanctioned Iran and Venezuela. And they're terrorist states, and we're Americans. So you are exactly right. And my opponent has been with the far left on, going after the Alaska energy sector. She had this bill in the Congress called the Alaska Right to Produce Act, which was actually a pretty good bill about opening ANWR and NPRA, and her liberal Dems colleagues in the House were against it. She lobbied against her own bill if you can, that helped Alaska. So this is
so she's two-faced. She's trying to deceive the people of Alaska. Isn't that the point there?
It's 100% the point, and it's the same on our military, right? We have more veterans per capita than any other state in the country in Alaska. It's a huge part of who we are, and we're doing this very big military build-up here with the Coast Guard and the Air Force and the Army, even my beloved Marine Corps coming up to Alaska. And
hey, Big Taco.
Bills in the National Defense Authorization Act, when she was in Congress, voted against the bill that had military construction and build up in Alaska, pay raise for our troops.
Jeez.
because that bill also was going after the
I got to get
woke
snack
transgender
and
stuff.
some gas.
We were getting rid of it, and she wanted to defend that. So, look, it's a big issue, the energy, national security issues here, and of course, it's big for America. And I'm sure you're watching it right now, Mark. Schumer is blocking the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act, that we're trying to move in the Senate as we speak. He is blocking that. I've never seen that in my entire career in the Senate. The minority leader of the U.S. Senate is blocking the bill that funds our military, pays our troops. Why? Because the far left doesn't like the military.
Crazy, isn't it? It reminds me of ICE and these other things. They hate law enforcement. They hate the military. And can you imagine if they get a majority? And look, if our people don't turn out in Alaska and the rest of the country, they will have a majority, won't they, Senator?
They will. And look, the Democrats are angry. They're motivated. They're turning out to vote. And in Alaska, we gotta up the tempo. We really got to turn out. As I tell people, for this seat, this isn't my Senate seat. This is Alaska's Senate seat. But the last thing in the world we want, Mark, is this seat going to the Democrats and this seat being the seat that gets Schumer the majority. Again, we are the firewall for freedom up here in Alaska, and that turnout is going to matter a lot because the Democrats are angry and motivated. There's no doubt about that.
Remind everybody again, Senator, if they want to help, where do they go?
Dan Sullivan for Alaska, all in one word, .com. Dan Sullivan for Alaska. .com.
All right. And Mark Levin for Dan Sullivan. So let's help this senator out, folks, so he can help us out. And
the graphene ceramic coating
and all the rest of this radical kook stuff, from being imposed on the rest of us. Good luck to you, Senator. Be safe.
Hey, Mark, thanks again. Really, really honored to be back on the show, and thanks for the shout out. And to my fellow Alaskans, let's get out and vote.
I don't know where the fuck going.
Governor's race, House race, and Senate race. It's going to be really important, not just for our state, but for the country.
Amen. Be safe out there, and thank you, Senator. He's a good man. He's not a... I get tired of some of these drama queens, and they don't accomplish anything. We're going to go after all these flock cameras. Okay. Hello. You got a lot of politicians, I'm not naming any in particular, and I'm not focused on any in particular, who try and glom on to the next shiny object. They don't really have sort of a
makes getting the bugs off a whole lot easier, too.
4 months, 2, 3, 4 years down the road. There's zero proposals on how to get this debt under control.
It rained pretty hard out at the job site I was just at. I got a good 2+ hour drive home. So
shadows on that, but they're very tough. They're very tough now on AI data centers. AI data centers, why? Because they're not fully developed yet, so they don't have a big lobby, people lobby. They can focus on a few billionaires, and they're starting to sound like Bernie Sanders if you listen carefully to them. And no matter how much of this crap you debunk about the water and about the pollution and about the noise and about the spying and everything else, you get down on the list, it doesn't matter. And it's driven not only by our politicians, but by foreign governments like the communist Chinese. As I say, thank God we had a totally different mentality just 100 years ago. But we wouldn't have the automobile. We wouldn't have airlines. Or we wouldn't have 90% of what makes us comfortable and improves our lives. We wouldn't have it if we had the psychology of these politicians and, of course, the mob. Now, there's a new poll out. The polls are the polls are the polls. I don't need polls, but I'll just pass it along since they're bouncing all over the place. Once people learn that the water involved in these AI data centers is reused. Oh, God, I didn't know that.
That really sucks, man.
That. Okay, because you're not getting the information. You're getting lies and propaganda. And what we're finding out is even so-called conservatives, so-called meaning now they're pseudo-conservatives, they're playing this game with you. Because they know you don't want them in your backyard. Well, none of us want it in our backyard any more than we want any industrial site in our backyard or any computer center in our backyard. They don't have to be in the backyard. So then you put them out in the rural. I don't want them near my farm. Oh. Okay, you put them on the rivers so they use the water. I don't want them on the water. No, I'm fishing for salmon. Okay. What about over here? Okay, it's an old steel, but they're taking jobs away. No, they're not. What jobs are they taking away? They're creating jobs. They're going to create industries. They're going to create cures for cancer and heart disease. And down the road, this is what they're going to do. And so, the Levin position, the Levin rule is, if you oppose these data centers, and I don't mean you want them located in another area. I mean, if you oppose them as a matter of construction, just oppose them, then you shouldn't get any of the benefits. Period. Now, I don't know how to link that up. I wish I could. I wish I could say, you know what, that medicine that was developed 10 years ago because we had this really extraordinary, extraordinary knowledge base that was created. And do you know, Mr. Producer, tell me if I'm right or wrong. Most of these people use AI right now. So a lot of people complaining, not all of you, obviously. A lot of people complaining about it are hypocrites. They're the first one that goes on the computer. Let me look this up here. Florence. Yes. Okay. You see right at the top here? It's all or news or search or, it's AI. Everybody goes for the AI. Do they not, Mr. Producer? Because it gives you leads to something else. Well, imagine going to the AI and you're a lab scientist and you're trying to develop some kind of a new medicine for some kind of a cure. Or imagine we have another breakout of some horrendous virus coming out of the communist regime or something like that. The quickness with which we can find medicines and create medicines and so forth and so it's going to be like something we've never seen before. Well, I don't know there. I'm putting a freeze on it. We got to really study this. When Democrats and Republicans, when politicians study something, they're killing it. They're killing it. And off they go the communist Chinese. They're gonna be way ahead of us. Anti-Semitism continued to rise around the world every day. You thought this would have been over with 100 years ago, what we went through, 80 years ago, what we went through as a nation, as a people. Jews, and then Christians. We lost over 400,000 Americans in World War II. It's the Jews in Israel. No, it's not. It's the evil Islamists. It is the evil fascists. It is the evil Marxists, okay? They're back. And this has continued to rise around the world every day. The Jewish people, as they say, the canary in the coal mine, they continue to pay the price. From growing threats against Jewish communities to acts of violence, harassment, intimidation, many Jewish families are living with fear simply because they're Jewish. This is all over Europe, too many places in the United States.
Sig.
God
Yeah.
Throughout the Middle East.
I was debating whether I should grab a hotel room here in Cleveland or just drive it home. I just want to go home. So, tired. I got a haircut tomorrow, so want to be able to get up in the morning, take a shower, get my hair cut.
Working every day in Israel and around the world to provide security and emergency assistance, food, and critical care for vulnerable Jewish communities. For more than 40 years, the fellowship has stood alongside the people in the Holy Land and throughout the world, delivering practical support when it's needed the most. Hatred continues to spread, but compassion and action can make a difference. I think this is what people love, by the way, about Dolly Parton. She really was special. A special messenger. But join the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews in praying for the safety of the Jewish people, for peace in Israel, and for an end to anti-Semitism. Together, we can remind God's people they're not alone. Please stand with the people in the Holy Land right now. Pray today by visiting levinforthefellowship.org. That's Lezin for thefellowship.org, levinforthefellowship.org. We'll be right back.
Still bowing for a few hours today. I got in the middle of some work, so I couldn't keep watching them.
After weeks of talking about the upcoming college football season, Week 0 is here. Saturday, North Carolina takes on TCU in Dublin, Ireland. Plus, hear games featuring USC, Florida State, and more. Before kickoff, get the latest analysis on College Sports Radio Channel 84.
He's a hammer on the ground, and he's more than enough through the air.
Then all season long, hear college football on SiriusXM and the SiriusXM app. Find your school's channel numbers at SiriusXM.com/sports.
Have you been thinking about what to do with the jewelry, diamonds, and watches you don't wear anymore? Maybe it's time to turn your old Rolex or Cartier bracelet into money you can use right now. At Worthy, we make selling your unwanted jewelry, diamonds, and watches easy and rewarding with our secure online auction. When you sell with Worthy, your items are fully insured, professionally graded, and auctioned to a network of over 1,000 professional buyers. You're in complete control, and once your item sells, you'll be paid fast. If it doesn't sell, we return it to you free of charge. With thousands of 5-star reviews and features in publications like the New York Times and Forbes, we've already helped over 80,000 clients get the most for their jewelry. At Worthy, we succeed when you do because we share the same goal, to maximize your earnings. For a limited time, SiriusXM listeners can get an extra $100 when your item sells for over $1,500 when you sign up at worthy.com/offer. Again, that's worthy.com/OFFER. Worthy.com/offer.
That's the sound of a Friday night around board. Hi, I'm Bryn Putnam, the founder of a new kind of game console called Board. I created Board because I kept seeing the same thing. My family together in one room.
Oh shit.
But everyone on a separate screen.
I think I went down the wrong lane.
I
God damn it.
build a screen that brings people together.
Ugh.
Board is a 24-inch digital game board for everyone to gather around. Physical game pieces control
Might be too tired to be driving.
Board knows what each piece is, what it means, and what it does. It comes loaded with fun, fresh, original games you can't play anywhere else. Games that bring people together, sharing experiences that were never possible before. See it in action at board.fun. That's BOARD.fun. Board. It's a game changer.
Hi, I'm Venus Williams. Years ago, an autoimmune disease almost ended my career. I wasn't trying to win Wimbledon. I was just trying to get out of bed. I realized my body was starving for nutrients. I needed a way to get real energy back. So I created Happy Viking. This is a complete meal replacement built on the 30-10 rule. That's 30 grams of plant-based protein for strength and energy, and 10 grams of fiber for total gut health. And it keeps you full longer. It's hypoallergenic, vegan, and packed with over 100 superfoods and nutrients. It's creamy like a milkshake.
Slight detour.
It feels like a cheat meal that actually fuels you. If you are tired of being tired, go to drinkhappyviking.com. Use code FUEL and save 20% when you subscribe today. That's drinkhappyviking.com. Code FUEL.
Hennion and Walsh was made for people like you. People who value speaking to the right people at the right time. That's why we answer the phone ourselves, to understand you and help you invest for the wealth you want, because you've earned it. We're Hennion and Walsh, and a human connection. Get a second opinion. Call 800-279-5279 or find us online. Investing involves risk, including the possible loss of principal. Advisory services provided by Hennion and Walsh Asset Management. Securities offered by Hennion and Walsh, through Asset BC.
Celebrating America 250. SiriusXM Big 125.
Levin is on the radio.
Oh, dude, I hate network printers.
You know, over the past month, more and more people have been contacting Monetary Gold for the free evaluation of their current gold holdings. Gold has fluctuated a lot over the past 12 months. If it clipped $5,000 an ounce early in the year, it dropped a little bit. It's been recovering ever since, and it's going to get closer to that number as the midterms come up, in my humble opinion. That's my view. But people who actually own gold now, have it in their retirement as an example, they want to know. They contact Monetary Gold. They want to know what's the value in this particular market. That is, coins, which country,
Jesus.
gold bullion, gold bars, so forth and so on.
So much construction
so
downtown Cleveland here.
Now, because we've been talking about this to try and understand the markets within the markets.
And
they're having Monetary Gold take a closer look at what they call the premiums, the spreads, and as I say, the product mix.
I don't know where the fuck I'm going here, man.
All about it. So if you're interested in a complimentary,
that's blocked away. So
review, that means free.
On the right side here,
means free. We're not going to say, "Man, this is a nice dress you're wearing." No, free precious metals holding review for every single metal asset you have. Take advantage of this, folks. Jump in. Call Monetary Gold. There's not another company offering this. 877 now gold. 877 now gold. There's no trick. There's no hook. They're winning your goodwill. They're trying to win your goodwill. Again, this call is free to you. 877 now gold. If you don't yet own gold, but you're interested in owning gold or silver or platinum as part of a diversification strategy, in a tax shelter, retirement account like a 401k or an IRA or something like that, please call Monetary Gold. They're the place to go to. 877 now gold. 877 now gold. Mention me, Mark Levin. Get your free guide. Get your free gold and silver guide. Hello. Monetary Gold is the trusted name in precious metals. 877 now gold. Performance may vary. Consult your tax or financial professional. Folks, I want to apologize to the callers, the full board. I wanted to get to you. There were many other things I wanted to discuss, but that's
I'm going to stop at Sheets in about 20 minutes.
We do this 5 days a week, 3 hours a day. Do you know there are people who can't do 3 hours a day, 5 days a week? They don't know what to do.
That's surprising that anybody has that anymore. No security.
I've got
that's nuts.
We'll save some for tomorrow as we'll continue to plow through our research and other information to add on top of the rest. Robert, I'm sorry we didn't get to. I want to talk to all of you folks tomorrow who've been on hold. We salute our armed forces, police officers, firefighters, emergency personnel. ICE, we love ICE. Our truckers.
I've done that before. Dial all the way into their router. Back in the early 2000s, man, I used to just drive around neighborhoods and just, if I needed to connect with my laptop, find one eventually.
The broadcast scheduled to air at this time on this channel is temporarily unavailable. We're working to restore the scheduled broadcast and expect to bring it to you shortly.
Exit closed, man. Is it really closed? Waze is telling me go down this way. That exit's closed. Okay. Go get it back on 490 West. And look at that burn off there. Huge flame coming out of the top of that stack.
We're going to focus on Peltola. Yes, me versus her. And as you mentioned, Mark, she is a far left liberal with a record, 2 terms in Congress. By the way, a record that's not impressive. votes. It's just crazy. You know, I don't think people understand exactly from the rest of the country. You know, we think of rugged individualism, natural resources, and that sort of thing. And then you have these radical leftists like her. How does that even compute?
Well, look, we have this ranked choice voting system.
Yeah.
Which, if you guys, by the way, anyone, you know, I know you by the way, you got a lot of fans in Alaska, so I know
Am I on the wrong fucking road again?
Listening right now, so thanks again for having me on. But if anyone
new
is
one,
listening
Clumps,
throughout
okay.
the country and you have
I'm heading the right
millions
way.
who are, do not fall for the ranked choice voting scam. I mean, the whole thing can be manipulated. That's what they're doing in this election. It is just the worst. And I think, you know, it was put on the ballot here to get liberals elected, and in some ways it's achieved that. But Mark, you know, what we're going to be doing, what we are doing, is making sure Alaskans know my opponent's record and then know my record, right? I mentioned she served 2 terms in the House, not 1 bill signed into law. I'm finishing up 2 terms in the Senate, 63 bills signed into law that help Alaskans, help our national defense, help energy. And on those big issues, which matter not just to Alaska, but to America, this again is where my opponent, the far left, live, voting against Alaska energy.
I don't think either one of them should have a very good name.
Our troops' pay raises here. So what she's doing and the Dems do it here well in Alaska, they try to run to the right. Hey, I'm a moderate, I'm a Republican, I'm conservative. And then they go to D.C. and they hang out with all the libs and they vote like far left liberals, and that's her record.
And here's the thing. It's your record, which is very solid. By the way, do I help you or hurt you if I endorse you up there?
Oh, you know me.
Well, I want to endorse you because we need you. You're a good senator. You're not a drama. You're not in a drama. You just do your thing every day, and that's very good. And we need senators like you. So
look, I'm much more of a workhorse and a show horse, right? And on the issues that matter to my state and our great nation, what I'm focused on is delivering for Alaska, and we are doing that. And that not only helps Alaska, Mark, it helps America. Let me give you a couple examples. You know, last year we got in the Working Families Tax Cuts Act all of these provisions to open Alaska's energy sector. Mandatory lease sales, got rid of all the Biden lockup. You know, the Biden and Schumer, when they were in power, they literally focused on trying to shut down Alaska, kill thousands of jobs, turn us into a national park. That's what the far left Democrats do every time. My opponent has been behind that, so that hurts Alaska, that hurts America, and it's the same thing with regard to our military. You know, we got a huge military buildup going on in Alaska. We're probably the most strategic place in the world, and the Democrats always, and you know this, go after the military, cut military spending, and we are making huge headway on that. That's great for Alaska. It's great for jobs here. But it's really important for the national security of the United States. And Schumer and the far left Dems, they're getting worse on national security issues, as you know.
And here's the problem for the rest of the country as well. If we lose your seat, we're going to lose the Senate. If we can't hold Alaska, we're not going to be able to hold everything, that's for sure. So that's how important this is, am I right?
Absolutely. You know, Schumer has said that his pathway to the majority is through Alaska. And so what they've done...
Oh, man, I'd love to see that link. That would be hilarious.
Dumping
But basically...
millions of lower 48 liberal money, lower 48 liberal activists. I like to say my opponent's campaign is a jobs program for New York City liberals. We got them all over the place doing, you know, door knocking and everything, but they have poured in so much money, liberal far left money, to make sure that Peltola, her first vote in the U.S. Senate, would be to hand the majority gavel back to Chuck Schumer. And the lower 48 liberals are bankrolling their campaign. So it is an all-out war up here. And we are the firewall for freedom for America. I like to talk to our Alaskan, fellow Alaskans about how important this is for Alaska. But this is really important for the United States of America. Mark, what will happen if Chuck Schumer becomes Senate Majority Leader? And my opponent is beholden to him in terms of money, has pledged her loyalty to him, which is Alaska last, not Alaska first, and has gotten an incredible amount of money from the lower 48 liberals who are trying to make Schumer the Majority Leader.
We'd like to hold you over on the break, Senator, if possible. If people want to help you in Alaska or anywhere in the country for that matter, where do they go?
Well, look, Dan Sullivan for Alaska.com. Let me say that again. Dan Sullivan for Alaska.com. And for the Alaskans, look, what we really need to do is get the vote out, right? We've got to get the vote out come November. That's going to be critical.
Turnout is the end and the beginning of politics. It really is. You're 100% right. We're going to continue with Senator Sullivan in a moment. We'll be right back.
Celebrating 20 years of Andrew Wilkow.
Hey, to my dear friend, Andrew Wilkow, wow, celebrating his 20th anniversary on his show, The Wilkow Majority, right here on Sirius XM. Remember, Patriot first, conservative second, Republican third, but just an all-around great guy all the time. Andrew, congratulations, my friend.
The Wilkow Majority.
I heard you when you first came on. I've loved you ever since.
Thank you. Celebrating 20 years on Sirius XM Patriot. Mike Slater.
One of my favorite descriptions of an American comes from Frenchman de Tocqueville in Democracy in America, 1831. He said, well, the Europeans build these fancy boats, and they have their veteran mariners. The American boats are fast, and Americans are tough. And that's why we're the best. And that way for hundreds of years. The more we tap into that, the even stronger we can be.
Breitbart News Daily with Mike Slater. Weekdays from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. Eastern on Sirius XM Patriot.
Never gets old.
Attention, if you owe money to the IRS, this is an urgent message. The IRS is cracking down, sending out heart-stopping letters, aggressively garnishing paychecks, seizing bank accounts, and putting liens on homes and businesses. They call it enforced compliance, and you better watch out because penalties and interest on unpaid taxes compound daily, making it seem impossible to ever get out of debt. Don't let tax debt destroy your life. You need to call Optima Tax Relief, the #1 tax resolution firm. One call starts the process to help stop the demand letters and stop aggressive collection actions. Optima's resolved over $3 billion of tax debt for their clients. They have an A rating with the Better Business Bureau and will fight to get you the best deal possible.
Call 800-611-8892. 800-611-8892. 800-611-8892. Optima Tax Relief. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
1877 cards for kids. KARS cards for kids. 1877 cards for kids. Donate your card today.
1877 cars for kids. KARS cars for kids. 1877 cars for kids. Donate your car today.
Ready to get rid of that old car? Donate it to Cars for Kids. Call 877 Cars for Kids to speak to a friendly live agent. Donation is super easy, and your car can be picked up as soon as tomorrow. Go to carsforkids.org now, or call 877 Cars for Kids to donate your car today.
1877 cars for kids. KARS cars for kids. 1877 cars for kids.
Do you know you can donate real estate too? Go to carsforkids.org. That's Cars with a K.
In signing their names to the Rust for Freedom, those 56 patriots put everything at risk, stepped onto the stage of destiny and seized a victory for the ages, and that's what it was. This is an evening for the ages, I believe. This is something
never gets old.
News this hour from Town Hall. Jason Walker, Texas judge, has denied a bid from Minnesota to extradite an ICE officer wanted on assault charges.
A federal judge has refused to order Texas to extradite Immigration and Customs Enforcement Officer Christian Castro. Castro is charged in Minnesota with assault and falsely reporting a crime, accused of shooting 24-year-old Julio Cesar Sosa Salas in the leg at a Minneapolis home in January. Castro is also charged with falsely accusing Sosa Salas and another man of attacking an ICE officer under Texas law and barring extradition. Castro must be released after 90 days of detention, which is Thursday. Minnesota officials say they believe Castro could flee to Mexico. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
A federal judge clearing the way, at least temporarily, for President Trump's mail ballot security order to move forward. That comes just weeks before the midterm elections. More from correspondent Ben Warman.
The order would standardize mail ballot envelopes and require states to provide the Postal Service with a list of eligible voters. The judge lifted her injunction after a recent Supreme Court ruling. Democratic-led states have filed a new lawsuit. The administration says the measures are common-sense safeguards designed to protect election integrity. Ken Warman reporting.
The bad news? Well, it's not a cure. But the good news, health officials approving a pancreatic cancer drug that does offer a new approach to treating the disease. The drug can block a protein that fuels the tumor growth. The vast majority of the pancreatic cancer cases, patients who have been taking the drug say they nearly double their survival time. From StoriesTownHall.com.
I'm Chuck McDowell, the timeshare cancellation guy and founder of Wesley Financial Group, and I want to set the record straight. I am not an attorney. I've never wanted to be an attorney, and the truth is I really don't even like attorneys. If I sound like an attorney, I apologize. But what I've learned in my 15 years in the timeshare cancellation business is you don't need to be an attorney to get folks out of their timeshare. After 15 years and over 50,000 cancellations, I can tell you with confidence, we know how to get you out of your timeshare. Call us today and we'll send you our timeshare exit guide absolutely free with all your options for cancellation. Attorneys, this was meant to be funny, so please don't sue me, especially my friend Kenneth from Black River Falls, Wisconsin.
Call now for your free timeshare exit info kit. 800-926-5959. 800-926-5959. 800-926-5959.
Well, much of the investigation still running. However, Russian hackers say they are behind a cyber attack targeting Norway's public digital services. Marcela Sanchez has an update on the story.
Pro-Russian hacker group Server Killers has claimed responsibility for a cyber attack that's affected multiple Norwegian government digital services. Media in Norway reported on a Telegram post in which the group said it had declared cyber war on Norway after the country renewed its security cooperation with Ukraine on August 23rd. A spokesperson for the Norwegian Digitalization Agency says the attack has been ongoing since Monday. The denial of service attacks aimed at blocking services, but the agency says it managed to keep them running. European countries remain on high alert. I'm Marcela Sanchez.
Breaking news and analysis, townhall.com.
The fusion of rational thought and political analysis. This is what your brain has been waiting for. News, politics, and issues. Enhanced. You have just joined the Real Majority.
Your generation of great talk radio. The founder of the news. That's me, Andrew Wilcox, for your section Patriot. Phone lines, as always. Whitehouse 695 Patriot 957-2874. The email spelled by name right, WILKW at vocabmajority.com. Patriot first, conservative second, Republican third. And working every single day to make this the most popular program offered by Sirius XM Radio.
Because it's based on one thing and one thing only. And that is rational thought. So welcome to the Wilkow Majority. I'm Andrew Wilkow. So we went over this article from VoteBeat, which bills itself as a non-profit news organization reporting on voting, access, and election administration across the U.S. And their complaint is that under this new executive order, that the post office would use barcode technology and voter rolls to determine whether or not it should send out a ballot. Meaning, no more sending out ballots to people who didn't request them. Joining me on the program, Ali Triolo, RNC election integrity expert. How you doing?
Hey, thanks for having me this afternoon.
Not that I don't want to talk to you, but I'm just going to be sarcastic. Like, why am I talking to you about this? Why is this even remotely controversial that we would stop states from sending ballots out to people who don't request them?
No, you're exactly right, and we're even starting to see some interviews coming out. There was one last night on CNN where a Democrat senator was caught flat-footed when point blank asked by Anderson Cooper, why is it a bad thing to only have ballots go to eligible citizens? This is how far the Democrat Party has fallen, that now they don't even want Americans voting in American elections. This is deranged. This is socialism at work. And quite frankly, this is scary and something that needs to be stopped as soon as possible. That is why we need to keep the majority in the midterm.
It's also just a flat-out gross negligence and incompetence. I mean...
No, you're exactly right.
Well, I mean, look getting the polling, right? It's not Republicans, it's not Democrats, it's not left, right, progressive, conservative, and across all demographics. 80% of the population thinks you show an ID to vote. Is 80% of the population fascist? Is 80% of the population trying to deny people of color the right to vote? I don't know what these people are talking about. But this, I know that in Washington, like I said, well, this is a common sense reform. This is a common sense reform. This really is common sense. Why would you send a live ballot up to someone who did not request it or might be dead?
You're exactly right, and this is what the RNC has been fighting for over and over again. And when I speak to left-wing media like VoteBeat and all these other people, I tell them, listen, this shouldn't be controversial. This is a black and white issue. It is the law that American citizens should only be the ones voting in American elections. A new poll came out about a month ago from Fox News, and I absolutely love it because they polled self-described socialists. And even the socialists say, you know what? We agree. Photo ID and proof of citizenship. And that's how that it's sent. And more than 60% of socialists even want this. So any Democrat that is against President Trump wanting to secure our elections, wanting to make sure non-citizens aren't on our voting rolls, wanting to make sure that only Americans receive ballots. The reason why Democrats do not want this, they've already said the quiet part out loud. They know they can't win elections if they are not funneling in votes from non-citizens and illegal immigrants. It's just that simple.
You know, we're really seeing the stark difference here. And I don't mean to be cliche. We're not talking about some spending program and Democrats want to spend more than Republicans on it, or as defense, maybe Republicans want to spend a little more on defense. They talk about we couldn't get Democrats, and we can't get Democrats to sign on to real border protection. Okay, they've also, well, we need more technology. That just means you want the people to cross the border. Then due process kicks in, and then it's just a game of attrition. They don't want to secure the border. They don't want to deport illegals. In New Jersey, it's so funny. I live in New Jersey. First they said it wasn't happening. Then they said, okay, it's happening a little, but it's not widespread. And then they were like, okay, let's not talk about it anymore. I haven't heard anything about the 6,600 people that were not lawful to register to vote that did. And I don't think anybody believes for a split second in New Jersey that 6,600 is the real number. That's the tip. That's the opening bid.
You're exactly right. And President Trump did a great thing for the American people. He is a president of transparency. A little over a month ago, he had a call to action with the American public, peeling back the curtain and showing them what is at stake when it comes to securing our elections. We have 2.5 million Americans voting information being accessed by Chinese foreign interference. That should frighten every single voter in this country. The hundreds, thousands of non-citizens on our voter rolls, that is not a made-up fact or figure. These documents, they were unclassified for people to see. This is a problem, and we are so lucky to have a president that wants to secure our elections. That is what American voters deserve. Obviously, I'm coming to you from the RNC, but no matter who you are voting for, why would you want a non-citizen, someone that is not eligible to vote in this country, casting a ballot and canceling out your voice? This is common sense, and any Democrat that is opposing this should honestly, well, for many reasons, be voted out of office, but this should be truly a red line for the American public.
Also, this thing where when I hear Governor Mikey Sherrill and other governors say, well, we're not sharing our information with the federal government. Well, they say it's privacy, right? Well, if you have it, it's not private. How can the state of New Jersey say that the information they hold is private? If it was private, they wouldn't have it either. So this is about interagency or state and federal cooperation on issues like voting. How did 6,600 people get through the procedures of registering to vote? They say software glitch. The software company already came out that day and said, we don't do the decision making. We are just an aggregator of information. We don't make the decision about who's registered, who's lawful to register to vote. Mikey Sherrill tried to blame it on the software company. It's not the software company. It's the state procedures.
You're exactly right. You hit the nail on the head. It is up to the way these states are running their elections to monitor the people on their voter rolls. Also, Mikey Sherrill only came out and said this because a month prior, the RNC, in partnership with your New Jersey GOP, did a records request to materialize this information. We proved it, and she had nowhere to turn. You know, back before I worked at the RNC, I actually ran communications for a county in California. This was a conservative county, but I worked a lot with our election department. There was so much involved in making sure that votes were timely, secure, and really the onus was on our staff to make sure that all of the rules were followed, the right people were getting the ballots, the signatures were verified. This is a systemic problem, and the buck stops with Mikey Sherrill. She is the leader of that state and of those elections. So any fraud, any non-citizens, and any issues we are seeing rest in her Democrat left-wing hands, and she is to blame.
Well,
Period.
one thing that comes to this from this article, so you're
Right back.
I got a piece you said before. You talked to
A time or two, I've maybe tangled around with that.
Oh, okay, so it's not some obscure website. This is like actually something that, okay. They have a quote here from Jennifer Morrell, CEO of the election group. It says former Colorado election administrator. And it says, Morrell said the rules represent an unnecessary broad attempt to crack down on the extremely rare examples of voter fraud. This proposal would fundamentally change the rules to address a problem that is extraordinarily rare. This is adding significant complexity and new administrative burdens. Since when do Democrats care about new burdens and complexity and onerous regulations? But that's besides the point. That can add additional costs with little to no evidence of the current system is failing. Well, let me ask you something. How would you know how to investigate this if the state sends out ballots that are not requested, and then an election worker sees them come in and they look like, you know, it's kind of like a bouncer checking a fake ID, looks like a ballot that's legit, and they count it? How would you know which ballots to check to see if they're the improper ones, if someone else signed them, somebody else filled out the information and submitted it? How do we know that's the ballot to see? This seems like it's a very easy thing. If you know where to grab ballots, you fill them out and you send them in.
There are dozens of countries around the world that require photo ID and proof of citizenship to vote. America is the best country on earth. Thank God we have President Trump at the helm, who has righted all of the wrongs we saw under the Biden administration. But where we are lacking and where we are behind is that our elections are not secure. And the thing that stood out to me about this soundbite is how this person said it is extremely rare for non-citizens to vote. Can you imagine if a police officer told someone, well, it's extremely rare for someone to be murdered in your community, so we're not going to do anything about crime? It is ridiculous. One non-citizen voting in our American elections is one non-citizen too many. That is why the RNC is much litigation that is how much our American elections are under attack. So we have to have 180 active cases right now just to defend common sense proof of executive orders like securing our mail-in ballots. And we are fighting tooth and nail to support President Trump. This was a big win, a great step this week with the Supreme Court, but the fight isn't over because we still need to get it implemented.
Well, think about this. Andy Kim, Senator Andy Kim, when he ran for the House of Representatives, won his race by I think it was just slightly above the margin for a recount. It was like 1.2 or 1.3%.
Miller Meeks won by 6 votes. You're exactly right.
I'm looking here at the Washington Examiner, and they had a piece out a couple of years ago that it says the last district to be called the race was decided by 187 votes, separating incumbent Representative John Duarte, Republican of California, and challenger Adam Gray, who flipped the seat into Democratic control in a big win for the party. So if 400 people voted illegally, if 200 people voted illegally, with the balance of power as it is in the House and the Senate, you could actually flip the entire balance of power in the House of Representatives and make Hakeem Jeffries the Speaker with 200 illegal voters.
Yeah, and let me tell you this. When we did that public records request in New Jersey, these were non-citizens that were asking to be removed from voter rolls because they actually want to legally remain in the country, and they know, committing voter fraud is illegal and a crime. But what we actually found is that these non-citizens, a majority of them, were registered Democrats. So you're exactly right. Why would the Democrats want to stop non-citizens that primarily register as Democrats from voting in our elections? That is where they're drawing their votes. So this is a real problem. It is a scheme. It is a scam, and we have to shut it down, period.
Yeah, again, back to the original topic, Ali Triola, Jesus Christ, sorry. I'm like,
it's been a tough last name my whole life, don't worry.
If I had $1 for everyone who called me Wilco instead of Wilcow, I would retire. I'm not an expert at this, okay? But I don't, this talk of it might increase costs, or isn't that one of the things we're supposed to, if it costs a little bit more, that's one of the things where we go, okay, election integrity. That's one of those things that's worth it, right? I don't understand how you can defend sending out ballots to dead people, sending out ballots to people who don't request them, and then just leaving them out there. If they had some like expiration and they disintegrated, all right, maybe. But we've watched as ballots were submitted wrong precinct, no address. In the case of elderly people, might have had assistance, no signature from whoever is just missing information, and the Democrats say, well, that shouldn't stop someone from voting. Yes, it should. Okay, if the vote is that important, all the things must line up. Okay, unless you want to go back to paper ballots, election day, and that's it. I just, the idea that you're just leaving the crack of the door open for fraud is absolutely absurd and insane, and it's purposeful. It's not like this is incident and accident. These people are saying we don't want to update the system to meet the challenges.
The most important thing that we do in this country is elect our leaders. Those are the people defining the trajectory of our nation. Can you imagine showing up at an airport and being asked to show your ID and saying, I don't have it, and the airport person saying, all right, come on through? That would never happen, nor do we as the airline passengers would ever dare expect to get on a flight without proving who we are. And that's just a flight. Imagine what Democrats are trying to allow in this country, to let people do the most important act, which is vote for who will run our nation and not prove who they are. It is ridiculous. It's an attack on our democracy. It's an attack on our values and what our founding fathers set up this country to be like. And now we have a chance to finally get this under control, and we are extremely hopeful with the Supreme Court ruling that this is a great step to finally securing our elections once and for all. President Trump is spot on to do this, and we are backing him every step of the way.
All right, again, we're going to take a break. Al Giolo, thank you so much for joining us as the RNC election integrity expert.
Thank you. Take care.
All right, 1-635 Patriot 957-2874. We are right, they are wrong. That's the end of the story. The arguments on this radio program cannot be broken. Sirius XM Patriot.
Hey, this is Mike Creedy from Pearl Jam. We got some big anniversaries coming up. Dan turns 35. Yoko turns 30. Celebrating, Pearl Jam Radio is putting together special anniversary shows. Those records wouldn't be what they are without...
I don't know why that truck came all the way multiple lanes over for no reason. He's all the way over in the left-hand lane behind me. Not like there was anybody on the side of the road there.
When you're a small business owner, you're always looking for the next big thing. Whether you're a gym owner looking to expand, store stocking up for a busy season, or a restaurant owner planning a new menu, you always need capital to grow. But traditional banks are making it harder than ever to secure a small business loan. That's why thousands of business owners trust Cardiff for same-day funding. Their online application takes less than 5 minutes and won't impact your personal credit score. With over 2 decades of expertise, it's no surprise business owners keep voting Cardiff America's favorite small business lender. If you've been operating for at least a year and are earning at least $20,000 a month in revenue, apply now for up to $500,000 in same-day business funding at cardiff.co/SXM. Again, that's cardiff.co/SXM. Cardiff, borrow better.
This is professional golf from Marco Murray. You've heard me talk about Celebrity Greens, the company that builds championship-level synthetic greens for homes and amateurs and professional golfers all across North America. Celebrity Greens is known for their great design, the use of the best materials, and amazingly high-quality installations. Their greens look great and perform like natural greens that I've played on my entire career. Now, Celebrity Greens is looking for additional sales and construction partners. If you're involved in the synthetic turf business or a contractor looking to expand your business, or an entrepreneur, give Celebrity Greens a call today. They are currently expanding across North America, and they will be opening new markets soon. And if you're an avid golfer wanting the convenience and beauty of a custom green or a beautiful low-maintenance lawn in your own backyard, you should call them too. Contact Celebrity Greens at 1-888-507-7960 or visit them online at celebritygreens.com. Celebrity Greens, redefining private golf all across North America. Visit them online at celebritygreens.com. Celebrity Greens.
Hi, I'm Kathy Hill, founder of Tax Tiger. Tax Tiger operates on the Christian principles of honesty and integrity. Not only do we protect you from the IRS, we prepare your back taxes, release wage and bank levies, and negotiate the best settlements in the nation. Call Tax Tiger today to schedule your free consultation or visit us online at taxtiger.com.
Call today, 1-800-IRS-9196. That's 1-800-IRS-9196.
Major Wilco. Freedom means you can chart your own course, cut your own path, live your own life. You can rise and fall on your own merits without the government being intertwined in every single personal decision that you make. That's what it means to be free, and that's what it means to be an American for the 250th birthday of this nation.
The Wilco Majority, weekdays from noon to 3 p.m. Eastern on Sirius XM.
therefore I am going to get the calls here. One quick clip. Elisa Slotkin. You know, if we roundly agree that there should be term limits for the Supreme Court, that's one thing. Just not liking the makeup of the court is another thing. Because I don't remember Deborah. Shows up when we have it.
You either get 18 years on the Supreme Court or you hit 75 years old and you're out. I want to clean up the court so that we can get back to them being like actual jurists.
So you want to kick them off the courts at 75 years old. Well, Ruth Bader Ginsburg died at 87. So you're telling me, Elise Slotkin, you would have kicked her off 12 years earlier. Is that what you're saying? You would have kicked her off the court 12. I don't ever remember any of these people on the left saying Ginsburg was too old. See, all my life I heard lifetime appointment, lifetime appointment. The Constitution actually says during times of good behavior. But now, because you're not getting your way, see, the Democrats in the other place, if they win elections, then the elections are the mandate. Okay? The elections are the mandate. If they don't win elections, they still, Barack Obama would say, I forgot, he made some comment about we represent the people who didn't vote or whatever it is. If they win an election, that's the mandate. The people have spoken, we can do whatever we want. When they don't win elections, they look to the bureaucracies and the courts. And because now they don't control the executive branch, the legislative branch, or in their minds, the judicial branch, well, now we got to make changes. Well, now you want to make changes because you're not getting your way. All right, Dimitri, Orange County, New York, home of Orange County Choppers. Go ahead first to your evil harvest bastard.
How you doing, sir? Yeah, that's kudos to you and your producers for getting such good guests.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just threw this. I mean, I'm on the way to work, so I can look for some more money so she can help bail that man up, the time comes. And it's just, everything is by design. We sit over here with the gerrymandering and them talking about, well, we have to do this, we have to do this, when the underlying thing is they're going towards their particular talking points. When you get into something that has been proven, like what Trump did, saying this was fixed, and it's proven that it has, they just say, oh, well, let's move on. And they bring up the next shiny object for people to look at.
Yeah, again, it's not happening. Okay, it's happening a little. Okay, it's actually happening. Let's move on, right? And it goes in that cycle every single time.
They want to shut you down. And you know what? There's more of us on the right side of center than there are them. But they're just being more vocal because the rest of us are out busy working. But a lot of us are getting to the point where I'm just frustrated with the one lack of empathy, them using the poor and the people and this. I mean, like you went back to what the FBI gentleman was talking about.
Secret Service.
Generationally, people going on, yes, very nice to have. On Facebook, people are trying to get the most friends. They think everybody's their friend. Like, if you took an old integrity and what is it? Fidelity, bravery, integrity, that's the FBI code. And we're just leaking information. People should know. That's how we got, what was it, Hiroshima, the admiral in Japan. We found the radio waves and this, we're not going to sky. So the president is trying to protect himself. The Secret Service is there to do that. Why are people complaining about what we don't know? Because you don't have to know. There's no reason for you to know. You just let them do what they're supposed to do and just reap the benefits when everything gets straightened out.
And we would say that I would say the same thing if this were Barack Obama, Joe Biden, or Kamala Harris. The Secret Service doesn't protect a party or a belief system or whatever. It protects the President of the United States. Let's see what we have here. Linden, Wyoming. Go ahead, evil harvest master.
You got it, because I am the evil front. But why is it that we want to look at our elections and voter integrity, I want the people that work for other companies to hire for other companies. So you're going to hire somebody from the Ford Motor Company, going to hire somebody to work at General Motors, and that's basically what we're doing with our, what we call elections. We forget that we're hiring these people to represent us, not to lead us. We need to stop thinking of that. They are to represent the values and integrity of the job that they're in by doing things. Yes, they can see the things around and work through things, but they need to be continuously representing us in their battle. I'm not going to put private to front the Army. I want somebody experienced that has gone up through the ranks and experienced something to be there. And that's what we've done in what we call elections. We've hired the lowest common denominator to supposedly lead us and put them in charge of something they have no idea that they're doing.
Well, that's what it means when you leave the person that canceled your vote. You know, you can spend, look, it's, I always say this. Okay, like right now, people are trying to enjoy the last weeks of summer. If you're in the northeast, west, midwest, right, if you're in Florida, it's like this all year. So people aren't paying a whole lot of attention. And I get, when I see someone in the media, I don't care what their flavor is, and they're speaking about I don't know, it's like, it's not ignorant, like when you're talking about a panel of people that do this every day, yeah, this is what you do. Most people don't have the time in their lives to spend all day reading every brochure and prospectus on every candidate, from the president down to the school board. I mean, who the hell has that time? Most people don't, even if you really do care. You know, because I was, where I live, we had a school board election with a really low turnout. And oddly, the school district had its debate, not in our town, in another town. I'm like, why don't they do it here, like in town hall or a school gymnasium? And there was one candidate who just moved in from the city. I just moved here from Brooklyn, and I want to create a safe environment for my children when they finally enter the school. She didn't even have kids that were school late. Not that, that's not a requirement. I'm texting all my, everyone I know that thinks like I do, like, hey, you gotta watch out for this, hey, you gotta vote. And then after the board election, they were like, oh yeah, I didn't have time. Okay. Okay. Right. Because most people don't have time for all of this. They just don't. Even if you say what's really important. Yeah, I know it's important. You know it's important. I know it's important. Even people that acknowledge it's important have busy lives, which hopefully a program like mine helps them out. I try to package it all up nice and neat. John, Tennessee, go ahead, you evil harness masters.
How you doing, Mr. Walkout?
Yes, sir. Good.
I'm wholeheartedly on board with you about the Save America Act, how it needs to be passed, and short of it not being passed, I think President Trump should go ahead and declare a state of emergency for the elections, as he can. But for the Democrats who are against showing voter ID and all that, then maybe they can explain why they went and passed a law in most of the states that in order to buy a pack of cigarettes, because I smoke and I'm a military veteran, combat veteran, why do I have to show my ID and have them scanning to buy that same pack of cigarettes? Ain't that being overburdened for me?
Well, that's, again, showing ID is just a function of life. Okay?
Right.
If you want to buy fun, stay in a hotel, buy a library book, apply for benefits. I mean, there's a million things you have to show ID for, and for them to act like this is going to be the end of voting as we know it is absolutely ridiculous. I will say I'm not too sure about the national emergency because I don't want the Democrats going, oh, is that how it's done now? Let's see. Daniel, Kentucky, go ahead.
Yeah, I keep hearing Trump talking about how the economy is doing so well, and I'm a little worried. Do you think he's actually getting the correct information? Because you're seeing like these crazy people that surround him, and they just tell him what he wants to hear. I'm a little worried that he doesn't actually know.
Well, that's funny, because I felt the same way when Biden said how great the economy was.
I agree, and this is hurting when we have two guys that have no idea what's happening.
But I don't think Trump,
8 years in a row.
I don't think Trump is the guy that doesn't know what's happening. Yes, we have high gas.
About a great economy. It's not.
We have high gas prices, honestly, because of what's going on in Iran. We're not pretending that that's not happening. We also understand that trying to get better trade deals might cause some pain. These are not things that anyone is lying to you about.
Trump is constantly saying how well the economy is doing, and it's not. He's cherry-picking facts, and the facts aren't necessarily correct. And I just wonder, like you see, what's this lady's name that's next to him? Who's a sycophant, who's absolutely nuts. You wonder who he surrounds himself with. Do they actually know?
Oh, because Donald Trump would be the first president to have sycophants around.
I know. I mean, these guys are fragile with their egos. They're all. It's not just Trump, but I just want to address who's in office right now. I don't think Biden was awful too, man. The guy had no idea what he was talking about.
Well, I will say this, and I said it yesterday. I'll say it again. Thank you for the call. Trump is doing a lot of the hard work that has been punted and punted and punted and punted and punted. Whether it's on mail-in ballots, the border, trade, it should prove to you just how lazy. It's not just lazy. Washington, D.C. has become like this bizarre oasis. Once you get in, you just manage your place there. Because it's better to be there than working for a living. And if it just means going along, just means not rocking the boat, just means not making, do you want to know where bureaucratic inefficiency comes from? Whether in corporate America or in the government, when you have quote-unquote managers that just hire an endless number of underlings and parse up the work among so many people instead of doing the actual job themselves. Yes, people in high-ranking positions need underlings and they need assistants. But when you just have people, so many that no one's accountable for any decision-making, and decision-making becomes ever more risky, you get bloat, you get waste, you get inaction, you just get nothing, really. And that's what we have. Treb, Texas, go ahead, you evil heartless bastard.
Yes, sir, I am. Been a fan since the filling days with Levin.
Thank you. Oh, my God, thank you.
Yeah, so my dad was a 43-year law enforcement officer. He ran for sheriff in Odessa, Texas. And I can tell you firsthand how this voter fraud works because he was approached by a community organizer basically to buy votes. However many votes he wanted, that corresponded to a certain amount of money that he would donate to whatever this, back in the day what it was, Acorn, whatever it was. So what they would do is they would go into the community, they would get the people that go door to door and get them to register, and then they would promise them something, like cigarettes, whatever it was that they wanted. And then on a given day, once they got their absentee ballot, they would bring that absentee ballot to a community area, and they would have a big festival, and they would take the ballots, they would sign them, and then they would stack them. Once they did that, then they would turn around, and whatever candidate gave them money, they would literally count out those absentee ballots and mark them, and they would stroke them, and that was it. And of course, he didn't do it. He's like, "No, that is not me. That is not anything that I want to be a part of." Election night comes in. It was in the primary. He was running against the sitting sheriff and was winning until the absentee ballots came in. And it was a 10-point flop. Went the other direction. And that was it. And so if Odessa, Texas can figure this out, trust me, they've got it figured out everywhere else.
Well, you should look up, if you really want to read a really great story like that, the Battle of Athens. The Battle of Athens, where you had a sheriff, I believe he was just charging returning veterans with drunk and disorderly or something like that. And they raid like a National Guard armory to demand to see the ballots. Yeah, it was in the 40s. Yep. That's a crazy story. Thank you very much for the call. Let's see. All right, Chloe, Texas. Go ahead, you evil heartless bastard.
Thank you, sir. With pride, with the state of Texas, yes, I will. Yes, I am. I wanted to let you know I enjoy your show. I try to call in when I can, when your lines are not too busy, you don't have too much guests. So I'll make this really quick because I know you have a lot of guys and other things to do. I 100% agree with you on this whole deal with Trump about getting on the who cares? It shouldn't matter. It shouldn't really matter. And then last thing I'll say about the photo ID. I mean, to all my liberal friends out there, if you think the photo ID is racist, then we should get rid of ID for everything else. Thank you. Enjoy the show.
Well, again, they say, well, voting is a right. Well, so is owning a firearm. All right, Craig in California. Go ahead, you evil heartless bastard.
Thank you, Andrew, for the great compliment. Yes, I am a resident of Atomic, Oregon. Unfortunately, I was going to get out of here. I try to say thank you for all you do, and congratulations on 20 years. The last time you and I talked, I'm a two-time caller, is I congratulate you and thank you for calling out to telling me some of this stuff. That was years ago. Now, it's over.
Yeah.
I also had a meeting yesterday with my congressman, and he spoke to a group of people, and he's talking about everything you're talking about on the radio show.
Who's that?
That is Jerry Everybody.
All right. Maybe we'll reach out to his office. Thank you very much for the call. All right, let's take the break. We are right. They are wrong. That's the end of the story. The arguments on this radio program cannot be broken. Sirius XM Patriot.
Daily with your host, Mike Slater.
Big tech ghouls loved this country, as much as Dolly Parton did. And they would do this to all the small towns across America. We're talking about as well.
Weekdays at 6 a.m. Eastern on Sirius XM Patriot 125.
Are you a small business owner struggling with cash flow issues? Look no further than AmeriFactors, a trusted partner in business funding. With AmeriFactors, you can turn your unpaid invoices into fast cash. Say goodbye to long payment cycles and hello to quick and easy funding options, even with less than perfect credit, including bankruptcies. If you need working capital to make payroll, buy inventory, or to expand your business, AmeriFactors has got you covered.
Working with AmeriFactors was the best decision. Our business is thriving and growing. Without AmeriFactors, we never would have been able to get to this point.
With AmeriFactors, you can focus on what you do best, running your business, while they take care of providing cash flow and accounts receivable management. Their team of experts are dedicated to providing personalized solutions focused on the success of your business. Fuel your business growth with AmeriFactors. Call AmeriFactors today, 800-884-FUND. That's 800-884-3863. Or visit AmeriFactors.com.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right, you can earn cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $300.
You're putting gas
in your car anyway. Why not get cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code PERFECT5 to get up to a $5 bonus on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank or again on Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code PERFECT5 to get up to a $5 bonus on your first tank. That's code PERFECT5 to get. You should put Upside.com for terms and details. Texting enrolls you in a recurring automated marketing text messages. Consent are required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply. The team's looking good this season.
I think so.
Man, I miss playing football. Ever since I turned 40, I just can't find that fire I used to have.
Then you could be lower testosterone?
What do you mean?
I was feeling the same way. After 40, the body has less testosterone, and men lose their edge. That's why I take inDOCtriNATIONlive Total T2.
That's the testosterone booster, right?
Yes, the Total T2 is their brand new formula that skyrockets nitric oxide levels in as little as 3 hours. Since I started taking it, I've been lifting like when we played for Coach Carter. My energy is way up, and it even spiced up things between me and the missus.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles?
Yep, just send the text.
Text Energy to 215215 for your complimentary bottle of inDOCtriNATIONlive Total T2, the next generation testosterone booster. Text now and we'll include a bottle of inDOCtriNATIONlive Thermo X, our newest, most powerful fat burner ever, absolutely free. Text Energy to 215215. That's GNERGY to 215215. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Never gets old. Celebrating America 250. Sirius XM Patriot 125.
Celebrating 20 years of Andrew Wilkow.
Hey, to my dear friend Andrew Wilkow, wow, celebrating his 20th anniversary on his show, The Wilkow Majority, right here on Sirius XM. Remember, Patriot first, conservative second, Republican third, but just an all-around great guy all the time. Andrew, congratulations, my friend.
The Wilkow Majority.
I heard you when I first came on. I loved you ever since.
Thank you. Celebrating 20 years on Sirius XM Patriot.
I want you to think about something for a second here. What if you died tomorrow? Not something bad happened, but you die, you're dead. What would happen to your family? I mean, could they survive? Be okay financially? Could they cover the bills, keep the house, keep things going? What about your kids, their future, their education? Well, I do have good news. I do have good news. There is a pretty simple way to help protect your family, and that's with life insurance through Ethos. Ethos makes getting life insurance fast and easy. It's 100% online, no complicated process, no medical exams, a few simple health questions. And with Ethos, you can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. You'll even get your lowest rate from their network of trusted carriers. Some policies are as low as $30 a month, and you can get up to $3 million in coverage. Okay, so do it. Okay, do it. $30 a month up to $3 million coverage. Take the 10 minutes, get covered today with life insurance through Ethos. If you're a free quote, visit ethos.com/Wilkow. That's ethos.com/Wilkow. ethos.com/Wilkow. Rates may vary. Application time may also vary.
Your crazy uncle's favorite radio show. Wilkow Majority.
Patriot 957-2874. So, do you have a pet? I think I'm going to go buy a hamster. Because in New York City now, they want to add paid sick leave so people can take care of sick pets. And I don't know how many of you had friends that got hamsters. They died like, you're never like, wow, that hamster lived a long, healthy life. No. More hamsters probably end up in shoeboxes in the backyard. And I'm not trying to laugh at any animal cruelty. I'm just saying that hamsters are not long as pets, right? You might have a dog for like 12, 13 years. Cat. How long cats live. But hamsters, maybe goldfish. But all the things that they have going on in New York, there have been Democrats, because they know they have a nutcase as a mayor, or at least Montani. The New York Post is reporting a list of new laws that Democrats are trying to pass in the city of New York, and one of them is paid sick leave for pets. So I'm thinking if I get a hamster and, it gets sick, I can say to HR here, look, I need like a week off to take care of my sick hamster. And if the hamster dies, I might need some bereavement time too. Now, that might sound funny to you. This one, though, free-range eggs only. There is a city council member named Harvey Epstein that would prohibit city government from buying eggs that aren't free-range. Cam, I'm sure the life of a poultry farm chicken is not the most pleasant. I know chickens are smarter than your average bird. But literally, the city adding this regulation, it's almost like these people nothing stops in their brains. So we're going to have, I guess that would mean in the city-owned grocery stores, you're going to buy the most expensive eggs and you're going to sell them at a huge loss. And you can't see how this is going to turn out. You can't just, as a regular person, go, I don't know if this is going to work, because it can't possibly. And these people are running perhaps the largest city in America. 1-695 Patriot 957-2874. So, free range only eggs and paid time leave to take care of your hamster. I thought it was going to be like limited just to like a C9. See now even that. What we call, and look, I work with Paws for Purple Hearts. We're getting ready for, and where everything is being put in place right now for Operation Close Air Support. And the benefactors that we've gathered, we're gonna have a much closer to a guarantee, much better system of getting the shirts out starting on October 11th. We're trying to have them on, we're working with our merch provider. So my merch provider, Drip Bank Clothing, has to work with a much bigger provider. Has to, not subcontracted, I guess. Someone bigger. And we're just trying to get them to give us a little bit extra time in the warehouse so we can be on pallet 2 to 3 weeks before October 11th when we start taking the donations. This way the shirts go straight out. Like we're not printing them after the start date. They're already printed and ready to go. Because what happened, yes, we did print them ahead of the schedule, obviously, but we ran out. Every year this has been growing, just ran out of shirts. So we're trying to get ahead of that. Good problem to have. So when I say this, I believe in the concept of therapy dogs. I don't believe everyone who has a dog gets to call it a therapy dog. And that's the problem. That's one of the problems. Everybody's going to use this excuse to go on vacation. Oh, well, my Labradoodle's puking. Well, you can't take a week off of work for that. I'm sorry. Look, we all have struggled. Everybody has a struggle. And to start adding this stuff, 3 weeks pay, plus this, at some point, more businesses are going to say, I saw the CEO of Bucky said, we're not building in blue states. It's just a waste of our time. It's just a waste of our time. The more the city tightens the screws, the more likely it is that businesses are going to relocate. And I know that Zoran Mamdani has all these crazy approval rates because we haven't seen the full effect here. $70 million to build 5 grocery stores. Not even 5. I think it's the first 2 are going to cost 70. How much they're going to sell the groceries at a 30% markdown. Where's the revenue going to come from to continually restock? That's what I would tell. If you're a left-wing economics professor and you can explain this to, a C student, state college grad, I'd love to hear it. Right? The idea of profit is that you leave yourself with 2 things. You leave yourself with the ability to restock what it is you sold, and yes, make a profit. But if you're selling at a loss, where does the revenue come from to restock? That's what I don't understand. And I pointed to that study that the New York Times did. That Amtrak lost $800 million over a decade selling food and beverage at a loss. How do you do that? So this is all doomed to fail. And if they get their way, everyone with a dog and a cat is going to use it to take time off. And they'll be backed by city law. Meaning HR departments are now going to actually have to put it up in the coffee room that you have a right to take time away from work to care for your dog. No, I know you love your dog. Everybody loves their dog. I get it. Everybody loves their dog. I get that you love your dog and it's sad when the dog dies. Or you got to put it down. I get it. But continuing to push individuals' life struggles into the workplace is what makes things more inefficient. I don't know. Do you go to work to socialize? You can't socialize. I come to work to come to work. I don't bring my problems to work. Sometimes in the morning call, Mike and I will just share, like, the baby was up last night, or I had my wherever, but we don't go to work to trauma dump. Tommy Pickett, State Department spokesperson, joins me next. We're going to talk visa revocation, Sirius XM Patriot.
Small business, you've heard all the ads. At Swish Funding, instead of shouting the same old promises, we'd rather give business owners straight answers. At Swish Funding, our team listens, reviews the situation, explains possible funding options, and moves quickly when there's a fit. Check our record, top ratings on Trustpilot, and A+ for the BDB. If you want revenue over $50,000 a month, Swish Funding is the place for you. Swish Funding, less shouting, better answers. Visit swishfunding.com, SWISH-funding.com.
Summer's here, and Black Rifle Coffee Company is bringing the fuel to keep up with it. While lots of brands are suddenly discovering patriotism during America's 250th birthday, BRCC has proudly celebrated America, a military or flag, and the people who defend this country since day one. That's not a seasonal campaign for them. It's who they are. With every one of their new ready-to-drink cold brew coffee cans, a portion of the proceeds always goes back to those who serve, not just for the summer, but every summer of every year. Whether you're headed to the gym before sunrise, loading up for the lake, or watching the game with friends, Black Rifle Cold Brew is built for people who stay moving all summer long. No weak coffee, no fake patriotism, just cold brew, made by people who still believe America's worth celebrating every single year. Find Black Rifle Cold Brew in just black or vanilla now at Walmart or your local grocery store, Black Rifle Coffee Shop, or online at blackriflecoffee.com. Veteran funded, American boosted. This is America's coffee.
Hi, I'm Joe Grillo with JoeGrillo.com. We know many of you search just that right pre-owned luxury vehicle. That's why I want to tell you about JoePerlo.com. At JoePerlo.com, you can browse our huge selection of curated luxury vehicles. JoePerlo.com is based in Chicago, but we ship cars all over the country. Check out JoePerlo.com. That's Joe Perillo, P-E-R-I-L-L-O, or dial 312-BMW-1111. That's 312-BMW-1111. 312-BMW-1111.
Never get late. Celebrating America 250. Sweetest Exit Patriot 125.
News this hour from Town Hall. Jason Walker. It has long been considered one of the most frightening diseases known to mankind. Now there is hope. Hope for those suffering from pancreatic cancer. Here's Ed Donahue.
It's called daraxonrasib with the brand name Rasakute. The daily pills block a mutated protein that fuels tumor growth in more than 90% of pancreatic cancer cases. Patients who got the new treatment live for a median of 13.2 months, compared with 6.7 months for people on chemotherapy. One oncologist says this is not a cure, but it's the best option they've ever had. Pancreatic cancer is among the most deadly forms because it is hard to detect before it starts spreading to other organs. Earlier this year, former Nebraska Senator Ben Sasse described on CBS's 60 Minutes how he had less pain while taking daraxonrasib. Ed Donahue, Washington.
Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook says the Trump administration has no legal basis to remove her from the central bank's governing board. Her response to renewed threats from the White House came in a letter late Wednesday. The United States has plans to add another nuclear micro-reactor system to the U.S. military bases.
The U.S. Army plans to add nuclear micro-reactors at 5 military bases from New York to Texas as a reliable source of energy independent of the commercial electric grid. The Trump administration is pushing to develop the next generation of nuclear power, including billions in loans for large nuclear reactors to meet the skyrocketing power demand from data centers, and a program to boost advanced reactor designs and projects for military and civilian use. The Army expects that more than 20 nuclear microreactors will be built and operated. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
More on these stories at townhall.com.
If you owe the IRS back taxes, you need the best team on your side. Priority Tax Relief has helped thousands of Americans resolve their IRS problems and settle for pennies on the dollar. As a leading tax resolution firm, we have an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau, hundreds of 5-star reviews, and a 4.9-star rating on Google, because we deliver results and huge savings. If you owe $5,000 or more, and even facing wage garnishment, liens, levies, audits, or IRS letters, call us today at 800-741-5015. Once you call, our tax professionals will call the IRS with you for free. And within minutes, start negotiating a settlement. We'll put a stop to collections and fight to get you the best settlement possible. Choose the company Americans trust most. Call Priority Tax Relief now at 800-741-5015 to see what relief you qualify for. Don't wait. Make the call. Dial 800-741-5015. Once again, that's 800-741-5015.
It's been troublesome in the past, and officials fear could happen again. Law enforcement in Minnesota hoping for a peaceful state fair event this year, free from Somali gang violence. Here's correspondent Laura Winters with the story.
Ramsey County Sheriff Bob Fletcher is trying to get out ahead of the situation by calling out Somali gang activity ahead of Minnesota State Fair. The sheriff sending out more than 200 letters to young people ages 16 to 22 across the Twin Cities, warning them that attending the fair with known gang members could result in arrests and prosecution. The warnings follow civil lawsuits filed by Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison against 2 Somali gangs. The lawsuits allege the gangs are planning violent confrontations at the fair, including social media posts advertising the biggest battle of the summer.
Breaking news and analysis at townhall.com.
Fusion of rational thought and political analysis. This is what your brain has been waiting for. News, politics, and issues enhanced. Just join the little majority.
Your generation of great talk radio, founder of the news.
SiriusXM Patriot phone lines, as always. Mine's at 695-PATRIOT, 957-2874. The email, spell the name right, WILKW at RemoteCalMajority.com. Liberty Patriot first, Conservative second, Republican third, and working every single day to make this the most popular program offered by SiriusXM Radio, that is based on one thing and one thing only, and that is rational thought. So welcome to the Locale Majority. I'm Andrew Locale. So you've got the media, the Democrats jumping up and down that the Trump administration may revoke the visas for people who have come to the country under one visa, but then tried to file an asylum claim after the visa expired, which, well, I guess is an attempt at a backdoor entry into the United States. As the Secretary of State pointed out, some of these people who filed asylum claims went back to visit the country. They claim they can no longer reside safely in. Joining me on the program is the spokesperson for the State Department, Tommy Pickett. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing all right. Thanks for having me on.
Help me understand this. So if you flee a country, you say, I can't live there anymore because the government's going to kill me. My family and I can't live safely. You come to the United States, you file an asylum claim, but then you go back for a visit. Obviously, it's not that bad of a place. The government's going to know to come back through a port of entry, so you're not really fleeing at that point.
Yeah, I think importantly in understanding how a lot of this is operating is we have systems in place that exist, and we're trying to work every day to make these better. To properly vet people, make sure people are coming to the United States on proper terms, and make sure we have an American First visa policy. What many people try to do, in fact, there's sort of fraudulent networks that have to profit off of this, is do an end run around that system. To use that system when you're loopholes in that system. And what we're talking about here with the short-term visas is people presenting themselves. Two consular officers saying that they want to come to the United States for a short period of time for tourism or business with the express condition they're going to return home. But in reality are intending to apply for permanent status in the United States through asylum. That is a form of fraud. That's a form of fraud. They have misrepresented themselves in that case to the consular officer. And under that case, fraud is grounds for revocation. So it's making sure that we are ending the abuse of our immigration system. We're actually having an immigration visa system that is fairly transparently applied across the board. That these fraudulent efforts and oftentimes profit out of coaching people how to lie to consular officers are held to account. A similar example is birth tourism. We have whole networks of birth tourism where people are trying to profit by telling people how to lie to consular officers. We're sending a clear signal and taking action that we're cracking down.
So this is the B1 and the B2 visas. So if you're coming in here to visit or to do business or to study or whatever, it's not like, okay, I go from one form of paperwork to another effortlessly. If you're coming here to travel, that's fine. Come to the United States, spend some money, go to the Buc-ee's, see our culture, that sort of thing. But you're expected to go home. They say, well, now I can file the asylum claim. Well, you didn't tell us you were fleeing anything when you first got here, right? That if you were going to file an asylum claim, you should have done that to begin with.
And that's really what we're getting at here. People misrepresenting themselves to consular officers, trying to basically jump the line, trying to do an end run around our system, trying to avoid the checks and balances we have in our system. We're not going to tolerate that. This is about upholding the integrity of our visa and asylum laws. And quite frankly, as you pointed out, there are many frivolous asylum claims that we see all the time across the world. So part of how we're cracking down on this fight to have a system that actually works in the country. We're saying, do not misrepresent yourself to a consular officer. There will be consequences, and when we identify instances that indicate fraud, or even when your visa is no longer applicable, like you're saying you're going to be here temporarily and then apply for permanent status, your temporary visa is no longer the status that you're here on in the United States. We need a functioning system that functions, works, and applies appropriately. And also, I do think it's important to state again, to crack down on these networks that are oftentimes profiting by coaching people how to lie to consular officers. It's this whole, maybe this is the wrong word for it because it's still an enterprise that people are profiting from. We're cracking down on it more left.
Real quick, while I got you here, do you have a minute to talk about Iran?
Sure, I can talk about it.
What I would say on this program is, it seems like President Trump has taken on the hardest of hard tasks that everybody, mostly maybe not Ronald Reagan, had punted on. And now we have unleashed Scott Bessent and are finally tightening the noose. Started with the Abraham Accords, built a coalition, got people on our side to recognize Israel, said to Iran, this is, we're not letting you get the nuclear weapons until finally it's everybody. They basically said, screw you. And Trump said, okay, here's what it's going to look like when I unleash the military. So there was mean, bad Trump. Now he's trying to be, they didn't try to be good, nice Trump. They didn't take him up on that. Now it's, okay, not military, it's going to be financial. And I just wonder how long can the regime hold on with the real basically being worthless because of inflation and their inability to sell oil, or is it they don't really care about the people in their country?
Well, I think a couple points here. First, you're exactly right to say the Iranian economy is in free fall. You're exactly right to say that. The fact that the regime is losing hundreds of millions of dollars every day as a result of maximum pressure is now taking to the next level through Operation Economic Outcast, in addition to the blockade. I think we do have a reality here, as the Secretary has said, where you have a regime in Iran that for decades has wasted their vast wealth, not on water infrastructure, doing things for people like Sadiq, but instead wasted it on funding malign activities, funding terrorism, funding a nuclear weapons program. The Iranian regime cannot have nuclear weapons. That is fundamental. So the president has already made the war paper with the decisive action he's taken to end that potential threat. And now, of course, like you mentioned, you see the economic impacts as well. So the Treasury Secretary, our colleagues over at the Treasury Department, have mapped out every single financial lifeline that the Iranian regime has remaining. And we are going to sever the Iranian regime from those lifelines. The Secretary making clear we will not allow entities to operate in the gray space of this conflict any longer. It's decisive action, and it's making the entire world, the United States, the entire world, future generations safer because of it.
Operation Outcast, are we going to use Bombs Over Baghdad or Hey Ya? Is the theme music for this?
Well, let the Treasury Department Treasury Secretary said it was an amazing theme song. I'm going to let him make that decision.
I don't know. I sense you're a lot younger. This is like old people music to you, isn't it? Outcast is probably old people music to you.
Well, I mean, Smoke on the Water is my pop-up song.
Deep Purple. I know we had you for a short time and you got to go. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
I know we only had him for 10 minutes. We went 12. That's it. Whitehouse 25 Patriot 957 2874. Well, while we're talking about, I guess, visa crackdown and immigration enforcement, now would be a good time to play our clips of Alex Preddy's family on Good Morning America with George Stephanopoulos. And really, there is definitely a mental divide in this country. There are people who think they can just make up the rules and that they shouldn't be held accountable in the real, like, just because one of the most shocking things, and I think it's a good thing that Renee Good is dead. I don't think it's a good thing that Alex Preddy's dead. I don't know about you. I don't go around wishing death upon people that I disagree with. I hate people I don't like. You know, I don't like you. I don't want me to be dead. But when you heard Renee Good's Air Fingers partner go, why do you have real bullets? Well, this is not Grand Theft Auto. Okay. This is not a video game. You don't get extra lives. You don't get to hit reset and start all over again. This is the real world. That, in case you don't know, law enforcement officers carry real guns and real bullets. She said, why do you have real bullets? Well, what did you think he was going to have? Well, there seems to be this belief that Alex Preddy was murdered in cold blood. Not somebody that was completely out of his mind and well known to be to interfere with ICE. Play the first clip. And before you play this, Yes, if you're a parent, no matter how old you are, no matter how old your children are, they're still your children. But to talk about them like they are kids. What was he, like something in his 40s? Play cut 3.
The word domestic terrorist, disgusting, is what that was. Some of those posts are still up.
Yes. We still hear those words. About our child. A kid who is out observing something that should not be happening in this world today, in the United States. Why? What did he do to deserve to be murdered? To left cold, on the ground, dead? My child. What did he do?
Okay. No. Again, do not wish this on someone. We don't think it's cool. And I will tell you this, and look, I know we have a lot of cops and a lot of veterans. Okay? This is the ugly side of the job. If you go to war, you are in the infantry, the way you win a war is by killing more of the other side. And then law enforcement, there are times where you may and how snipers kind of get this weird reputation because they go out. It's not contact combat. They go out with a specific target. They know they're going to take someone's life who's been chosen. Right? A high value target, let's say. They know. And this person might not, chances are doesn't know it's coming. And that's really a cool job. But your child was just observing something that shouldn't be happening. Well, you're allowed to have your thoughts on what should or should not be happening here. You're not allowed to turn those thoughts into actions and combat law enforcement. I feel bad, but Mom sounds a little delusional. Play cut 4.
Shortly after his death, video emerged of Preddy in a confrontation with federal agents 11 days before he was killed in Minneapolis. Video President Trump used to go after Preddy.
President Trump called him an agitator, possible insurrectionist. What does it feel like when you hear the President of the United States say those things about your son?
I don't think you have my answer.
It's so unpresidential. I mean, it's ridiculous that, the leader of the free world speaks that way about an American citizen. All those words are put out there: assassin, domestic terrorist, massacre, agitator, insurrectionist. Since then, no word from the President of the United States. No.
Well, he was an agitator. So there he is 11 days before attacking law enforcement. The second time around, they knew exactly who he was. Nobody woke up that morning and put on their boots and said, I'm going to kill Al Capone today. But he was known to them. He'd attacked them before. Whatever he was feeling about immigration or how immigration law is enforced does not mean he has a right to go out there and attack law enforcement. And if you say, well, he wasn't really an attack, he was just kicking their cars and interfering in their arrests. You don't get to do that. You don't get to simply make up rules because you're having a feeling. Again, I don't know. Do I sound like I'm bleeding hard? This one mic? I mean, I'm trying to provide perfectly executed political analysis. I mean, I guess I could just go straight to the this bastard. Mom sounds a little delusional, and that might have been used down. All right, White's 695 Patriot 957-2874. We are right. They are wrong. That's the end of the story. The arguments on this radio program cannot, will not, will never be broken. Sirius XM Patriot.
From the streets in your timeline. Artists on the rise. Don't be a parent. It's none of my business. Karen. Those 2020s and those that still hit. Tap into the sound of the culture. Channel 44. Whenever you stream with the SiriusXM app.
With the high price of new and used cars today, many drivers are choosing to keep their vehicles a lot longer. But with the average car now over 12 years old, most manufacturers' warranties have expired. I'm Danica Patrick. If your car is out of warranty, a single trip to the mechanic could cost you thousands. That's why smart drivers choose Endurance. If your vehicle is less than 20 years old, no matter the mileage, Endurance can have your car covered for the drivetrain, electrical, AC, transmission, and more. And Endurance is with you every step of the way, from filing a claim to paying the mechanic of your choice directly. And your rate won't go up no matter how many claims you file. Call Endurance now and choose the plan that fits your budget. Act now and get 1 year of elite benefits, a $2,000 value free.
For your fast free quote, call 800-298-2007. 800-298-2007. 800-298-2007.
No choice by plan, new contracts and exclusions at EnduranceWarranty.com.
Hey neighbor, I'm Sherry, owner of Life Source Water. The water coming into your home has chlorine in it. Harsh to drink, rough on your skin. Plus, hard water leaves scale all over your faucets and appliances. My family builds a filter for your entire home and has for 40 years. We reduce chlorine, stop scale, and keep the healthy minerals. No salt, no worries. So visit us at lifesourcewater.com or call 1-800-WATER-99. Life Source, taste and feel the difference.
Warranty limitations apply. So your next 5 minutes could be your most productive 5 minutes in years, at least when it comes to your finances anyway. That's all it takes to find out exactly how much you'll save joining MediShare versus what you're paying now for healthcare. It's very typical for people to find out they can save hundreds a month, thousands a year. The typical family saves up to $500 a month. And healthcare sharing is different for sure. It's refreshing, different. We know from member surveys people love saving money, of course, but they also just like MediShare more than what they were doing before for healthcare costs. And it's not a new thing. It's been proven for more than 30 years. Hundreds of thousands of Americans are part of this. So call them now. They are great to talk to. And very quickly, you'll find out what you can save. You can get your questions answered. Your next 5 minutes can mean saving hundreds a month after month. And here is the number. Call 855-40-BIBLE. That's 855-40-BIBLE. 855-40-BIBLE.
Doug, Florida, Lorraine, Boston, Tony, North Dakota, we're all the majority.
The reason I keep being shit on. I'm 20 year listener to Marco says. Or the reason that I have to tell of those years before you got kids.
Avoid needs to listen to every book. The arguments on this program cannot be broken.
For another 20 years of listening to you.
The Will Count Majority.
Congrats on your 20th, buddy.
Celebrating 20 years on SiriusXM Patriot.
When the media makes you sick, look how settles yourself.
Before we get to calls, do you have that clip? I had to watch this twice. I had to watch this twice. CNN tried to do a breakdown. I don't know if you've seen the video, and I know Andrew Brewer. I don't know if he still listens to the program, but he used to. We've had him on the program before. He was with RFK Jr., and they were showing how to make $5 bills. And it's kind of interesting that really you don't have to get crazy to, when they say we're going to $20 burrito. No, a $20 burrito is a $20 burrito if you DoorDash. But if you buy, and in my case, ground turkey, you buy a pound of ground turkey, you buy a bag of tortillas, you buy a bag of cheese, make a gringo burrito, right? You buy the stuff. If you spend $20 to do that, you get more than one burrito. I wouldn't call it meal prepping the way like gym bros and influencers call it meal prepping. But I might make a pound of ground turkey and use it for, let's say, a bolognese one night and then a taco the next night. That's not a $20 burrito happens if you DoorDash a retail burrito. But you can spend $20 and get some ground turkey or some ground beef and some cheese and some tortillas and whatever you like to put on your burrito or your sandwich or whatever. And if you, let's say you spend $20, right? Let's say you spend $20, and you make $4. Well, then clearly for your family, you're not getting a burritos that cost $20. The ingredients to make the family's dinner or the family's burritos cost $25. Right? If you're DoorDashing food, it's going to cost a lot more. If you're buying something pre-made retail, yeah, it's going to cost a lot more. Now, do we always have time to cook the most perfect, healthy, organic meal? No. So RFK Jr. got with Andrew Brew, and they were going over $5 meals for the individual, not the whole family, right? $5 per person per meal. Here's how CNN was. I thought this one, I honestly, I knew it wasn't parody because it was on CNN, but if I didn't know any better, let's just say, I wasn't me, I might think this is parody. So, play that criticism by CNN.
On my way to the store, but when we started buying ingredients used in the show, even going for the lowest prices at a big competitive chain, the cost heated up fast. This was the cheapest frozen wild caught sockeye salmon we could find. This is what they are using. They price theirs at $8.99, the cheapest we could find, even with the deal from the store, for $24. Now, the value of eggs not about the same price. Some of the eggs on a per egg basis, but that's trickier because they're only pricing that one egg out of the carton, and that gets worse for other things. For example, this one onion, they say they only spend 8 cents on this because that's how much they use. Getting the whole onion costs $1. Look at this. This is the avocado mayonnaise. They price this at 40 cents because they were only using a couple of tablespoons. To buy the whole thing costs just more than $11. They're overpricing protein, and grocery stores don't sell things that way. HHS insists this is standard recipe costing methodology, and they want to help Americans stock up on high-quality ingredients. They can stop this. Many.
Can you stop this? If you were to buy a 6-pack of beer for $6, and you drank one beer, and he said, how much does that one beer cost? Well, it costs $1. CNN saying that when you address the cost of the standalone beer, 5 left, you drank one, then it really costs $6. Yes, for all 6 beers. So if you buy a dozen eggs for $6, okay? Dozen eggs, $6, and you use 4 of them, you're addressing the cost of each one egg. If you are buying a pound of ground beef and you only use half in the recipe and put the other half back in the fridge, you're addressing the cost of what you used to make the meal which you ate. Am I on an island of reality in an ocean of diarrhea? Yeah, you have to buy the whole jar of mayonnaise or the whole bottle of salad dressing. I guess if you took a whole bottle of salad dressing and you looked at the serving size and said, okay, the serving size is 1 ounce and there's 16 ounces in the bottle, and you said, okay, well, take the price of the bottle divided by 16, then every serving would have, is the word prorated? A prorated price that when you are budgeting for the family, now nobody can live that strict, it's just a guideline, but they're acting like because you had to buy all of the ingredients and you didn't buy just a squirt of salad dressing, which, by the way, what the hell would the cost be if you had little tablespoon packets? I mean, and then again, I don't know, fast food restaurants give out ketchup packets, right? But we don't buy it that way for the most part. We don't buy our condiments, you don't buy a pinch of salt, you buy a salt shaker. Maybe CNN's on to, maybe Soren Mamdani can do this in his grocery store. You can just buy a pinch of salt. Now, that would be a cafeteria. But as far as, since the dawn of the retail grocery industry, you didn't just buy a pinch of salt or a tablespoon of flour. You bought, not in bulk, but in volume, which, by the way, a volume purchase is almost always cheaper. And then you use a portion of what you buy and you put the rest away in these crazy devices from, the spaceman called a refrigerator, which even the lowest income Americans in this country have. I'm sorry, is this what intellectuals do? Is this what intellectuals think is intellectualism, I should say? Because that is one of the most out of touch and stupid reports of this nature. Like this, when I tell you that the media is reflexively anti-Trump, that's what that is. Because I got news for you. Right about now, over the next, and maybe right about this time, is when every local news station and the national news do stories about back to school. And we talk about parents going out to buy school supplies. If you said, your average number 2 pencil is about 10 cents, they would say, well, the box, the box holds more than 1 pencil. A package of paper has more than 1 sheet of paper. He's breaking down the cost of using ingredients to make a meal where the unused portion of the ingredients go back into some kind of storage. Yes, grocery shopping. Well, it adds up fast. We didn't say grocery shopping was $5. We said upon bringing the ingredient. I can't believe I'm doing this. I can't believe I have to sit here. This is where we are. When you're in the airport, the mall, it says you are here, that's where we are. Who is CNN talking to? Unless they're talking, their entire audience is completely out of touch people who don't do anything for themselves. I think one of the first questions you should ask for a real elitist is, when was the last time you brewed your own coffee? It seems like they're talking to people like, no, God, can you believe this? They had to use an egg. I admire people's success. But also, there are people that you can't relate to when they don't do normal things. Like, I'll bet you that Elon Musk does not cook his own meals. I was sitting across from him, I would admire his success. It launched a rocket the other day, right? Things are going to come back and parallel park itself. But I don't know that I could have a conversation where Elon Musk and I could relate to one another. What do you mean you get up in the morning and you fold laundry? Like, what was the... I don't know. You sort socks? Like, that's not something that Elon Musk does, okay? Elon Musk doesn't wake up in the morning and go through a bit of socks. But when you're talking like that, it's almost like there are people like, honey, did you see this? Did you know that some people actually make meals from shopping at the grocery store? I had no idea that people did those things. Wow. Why is it 695 Patriot 957-2874? Should we take the break? Yeah, why not? Are we going to play that Barbara Walters interview with Dolly Parton? Is it from 1972? We didn't spend a lot of time on... I know she was a universally beloved person, okay? I think the fake fans really give it a rest. I realize she was a universally beloved person, but to sort of hinge off this completely clueless, out-of-touch reporting, we're going to have to play an interview that Barbara Walters did, just a few minutes of it, maybe a minute or two with Dolly Parton, I think back in 1972, where she actually, 77, she actually asks Dolly Parton if she thinks people like her, meaning Barbara Walters, see her as a hillbilly. And when you hear this, it is the most condescending, out of touch. See, to people who love the types like Barbara, they think it's just inquiry. To most of you gals from the South, it's going to come across as absolute insult. But we'll get to it in your calls to wrap up the program. All right, so let's take the break now. We are right, they are wrong. That's the end of the story. The arguments on this radio program cannot be broken. Sirius XM Patriot.
Art News Daily with your host, Mike Slater.
The big tech ghouls loved this country and the people of this country 1,000 as much as Dolly Parton did. Then they would do this to all the small towns across America. We'll talk about it tomorrow.
Art News Daily. Weekdays at 6 a.m. Eastern on Sirius XM Patriot 125. By texting 64,000, you're going to receive recurring automated marketing messages from that message and data to be applied. No purchase required. Terms apply. Bolded.com/terms.
Got pet stains? I did. Urine, dirt, mud. I scrubbed and scrubbed. Back-breaking work. Then I got Bullshot Pet Stains and Odor Remover. Now I just shake, point, and spray. Bullshot is the enzyme-powered foam stain remover and deodorizer. Its professional-strength foam clings to carpet fibers, rugs, and upholstery, breaking down stubborn stains and neutralizing odors at the source. No scrubbing required. For tough stains, just let the foam work for 20 minutes or more. Pet-friendly, water-based, no harsh residue. Proudly made in the USA. Professional stain removal could cost hundreds, but today you'll get an instant 15% off Amazon promo code for Bullshot Pet plus free shipping. Just text PET to 64,000. That's PET to 64,000 for an instant 15% off Amazon promo code and free shipping. Text PET to 64,000 now.
Chuck McDowell here with Red Rocky Mobile. How long have you been stuck with the same phone plan? 2 years, 5, 10? Are you tired of surprise fees and confusing bills that never match what you thought you were paying? Switch to Red Pocket Mobile.
It's the Red Pocket Back to School Savings Event. Cover your student with a year of 5G service with Red Pocket's annual Essentials plan for only $667 a month. Or step up to our annual Plus plan with an incredible 20 gigs of high-speed 5G data for just $15 a month. Want something monthly? We've got that too. 50% off your first month on select monthly plans. Starting as low as $10 a month. No contracts, no surprise fees, no price hikes.
Red Bucket gives you access to all three 5G networks. You pick the one that works best where you live or work, or switch anytime for better coverage. And you keep your phone and your number.
Send them back to school connected with Red Pocket Mobile, your new ultimate cell carrier. Go to redpocket.com now. Redpocket.com. There's a kind of traveler who's driven by curiosity. They want to drive a Vespa through the streets of Hanoi, glide between vendor boats at a floating market, wake before the sun so they can see Angkor Wat at dawn. At Colette, we craft trips for those seeking to uncover the soul of a destination. Our expertly guided Asia tours let you explore Japan, South Korea, or Vietnam, with over 100 years of travel experience leading the way. That means your curiosity is free to wander while we take care of the timing, transportation, and every little detail in between. And because even the best planned journeys can come with surprises, Colette offers 24/7 global trip support. Follow your curiosity. Leave the rest to Colette. Use code Colette26 to save up to $250 on select tours. Visit gocollette.com/serious. That's GOCOLLETTE.com/serious. Or call your travel professional and ask about Colette.
Never gets old. Celebrating America 250. Sirius XM Patriot 125.
The Trinity device in the war of words. The Roman majority.
Super producer Mike told me today is Women's Equality Day. So anybody heard about that from a man? Does the WNBA know this is going on? Well, in the spirit of, I guess what it is, Inequality Day, you want to hear, if you played this clip, what I'm about to play, for a bunch of women who reside on the Upper East Side of Manhattan, versus, let's say, from rural Kentucky, they would hear two totally different things. Now, I'm a man, and I'm not from the South. I was born in Florida, not raised in the South. And I think I'm going to have the same reaction to this that any good-natured woman from the South would have when hearing Barbara Walters ask these questions of Dolly Parton back in 1977. Play it.
Dolly, where I come from, would I have called you a hillbilly? If you had it would have been something very natural, but I would have probably kicked your shins or something. No, actually.
But when I think of hillbillies, I'm thinking of your kind of people.
I think you probably are. The people that grew up where I was were the ones that you would consider the little Abner people, Daisy May, and that sort of thing. They took that kind of thing from people like us, but we were very proud people. People with a lot of class. It was country class, but it was a great deal of class. And my people were not that educated, but they are very, very intelligent. Good common sense, horse sense, we call it.
Dolly, did you look like this when you were a kid?
Not quite.
I mean, you didn't have the blonde hair. But when you went to school, when you were 11, 12, 15, was it this about you?
Well, you mean the full figure?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I thought that's what you meant. Well, actually, I've always been pretty well blessed. As a child, I grew up fast. Other members of my family, have done the same.
My assistant asked me something, and I'm going to blame it on her because I wouldn't have had the nerve otherwise. Is it all you?
Well, I can't show you here.
Okay, can we stop this? Can we stop the tape? Would I call you a hillbilly? That's like saying you're a hillbilly. So, Baba Wapis, who started The View, by the way, which is hosted by nothing but an obnoxious group of angry leftist women in Whoopi Goldberg. She's basically insulting Dolly Parton to her her face, thinking Dolly is too stupid to get it. Referring to her blonde hair as a baby. And seemingly, maybe Barbara Wall was a little jealous of the bosom that Dolly Parton. In other words, she's looking at Dolly Parton and saying, well, you're basically just this dumb pinup. And Dolly, demonstrating probably why millions of people love her, came back with the essence of bless your heart, right? Bless your heart. Now, I wish I could respond to those questions. How condescending and obnoxious. And this is something you definitely get with so-called intellectual women. Like I always say, there's the four-way guide to, the low-count four-way guide to politics, and it goes a little bit like this. If you are an attractive woman and you're progressive, you're stunning, trendsetter, elegant, you represent classic beauty. If you're a conservative, now I'm not saying Dolly is a conservative. I know nothing about her politics. She seemed to love everyone. Right? Seemed to love everyone. But in this scenario, when you have this obnoxious so-called intellectual journalist, I guess Dolly would be seen as the... Anyway, if you're a conservative who's equally attractive, you'll be framed as superficial, unintelligent, all boobs, no brains, that sort of thing. If you are a progressive Democrat woman and you're unattractive, you're just too intellectual to be concerned with your appearance. You've got more important things to do, like make policy. If you're a conservative, you're just ugly. Right? If you're an unattractive woman and you're a conservative, you're just ugly. What you're seeing, Barbara Walters was basically treating Dolly Parton not as an interview subject, not as someone of curiosity, but someone that deserved to be scorned to her face under the guise of her not understanding that she's being scorned. These people talk to you like you should know that you're beneath them, and they should be allowed to express it right to you in a way where they're allowed to assume you're so unintelligent that you wouldn't get it. Basically a dumb blonde. There's a tinge of jealousy in there because never in Barbara Walters' life would any heterosexual man find her more attractive than Dolly Parton. 1-695 Patriot 957-2874. Let's see who do we have here to wrap up the program. Scotty, Texas, go ahead, you evil, heartless bastard.
Hey, thank you, Andrew. Hey, was that interview the one where she literally asked Dolly Parton if she was a clown?
I don't know. She asked her if her boobs are real. I think there might have been more to it than that. This was just a clip that was going around.
I'm pretty sure it is, and she puts her in that corner. What a disgusting. Anyway, so yeah, it's just a border wall report from the road. Every now and then when I'm out here, I get off the interstate and go 2 lanes. I was just literally running along the border down in Texas before I came up here to New Mexico. And the border wall is a promise kept by our president, and it's a beautiful thing, and it's one of the things that the truck business right now that's just really on fire out here in the Southwest. I've got guys that buy trailers for me because they've got dedicated routes that is doing this stuff, and there's no end in sight. So that's the thing that most people can't see. Yeah, I just thought I'd bring that up where I sit. Number two.
I got a lot of the calls, sir. Thank you. I don't mean to cut you off, but I got a lot of calls to get to before we get to the end of the program here. Duncan, Minnesota. Go ahead, you evil, harmless bastard.
Thanks, Andrew. Congratulations on your 20 years.
Thank you.
Quick comment on Alex Freddie's mother and what has happened in our state of Minnesota and to our state of Minnesota is very, very sad. There's no getting around that, whichever way you look at it. But the fact that she can't comprehend how or why this happened to her son is probably exactly the reason for how and why this happened to her son. And my feeling is that liberalism is a generational curse of inadequate parenting. And that's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Parenting studies, by the time you get good at it, you're done. And there's always another chapter. Telling your kids you're not their friend doesn't mean you don't love them. And if you are unable to teach your kids consequences, well, if you raise a child in a consequence-free environment, they're going to go out into a world thinking there are no consequences for their behavior. Let's see who we have here. Rich, North Carolina. Go ahead, you evil, harmless bastard.
Hello?
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 Hello? You're on the air.
Hello?
All right. Thank you very much for the call. Let's see. Dan, Indiana. Go ahead, you evil, harmless bastard.
Thanks for the compliment, Andrew. A quick follow-up to your CNN story about the cost of a meal. CNN neglected to mention that after the initial purchase, all your subsequent meals using those ingredients
that's the whole thing. Well, I guess, but that's the whole thing is that you buy ingredients. Is this reporter like, I can't believe this? Does he not go grocery shopping and make his own meals? It is bizarre.
Was it CNN? That would be typical, I would guess.
Well, I don't know what they're paying correspondents. That was on Out Front with Aaron Burnett. Let's see. Glenn, Florida. You are on the Locale Majority. Hello.
Yeah, hey, how you doing? Listen, I appreciate everything you do and getting the word out to everybody because it really needs to be spread. But I wanted to comment on that woman who's complaining about a child being killed. After directing the life of a law enforcement agency, she's a lunatic, and she lives in a fantasy world. And unfortunately, the fantasy world that she lives in is very big. Like, all the people that are voting for DSA are in that same fantasy land. And, our back is up against the wall because she can't argue with a certain line. I mean, what do we do?
Well, I have a feeling that whatever a lot of people have to complain about Trump, if it's gas prices or they don't like the change in foreign policy or what have you, realize that, look, there are people that will vote for the other side just when they don't like what's happening, they want something else, right? Well, that something else is the DSA now. That's the something else.
It's crazy, though. In my opinion, it's crazy. I don't get it.
Well, probably the call she has, the Republicans definitely holding the Senate. A little less optimistic on the House. I don't believe that when we get through Labor Day, things are going to change. Let's see. Roger, Oklahoma. Go ahead, you evil, harmless bastard.
Hey, Andrew. I just got two quick things. One of them is changing. But the first one is, when you go to a grocery store, and I'm in Oklahoma, literally, it has the price, and especially if you buy in bulk, it says what the serving cost is per item. So if you buy, we go to Sam's or Costco, and we buy something in bulk, and we buy a Dr. Pepper. It tells you what the individual cost is for each item is next to the overall price. And I see that in my local grocery store that's owned by an individual in a small town. So I don't. So. And I just want to know, does that guy just dump all of that avocado sauce on his sandwich? Or
I don't. I literally don't. I press and seal, right? The press and seal. If I slice a red onion to make something on a Monday, put the press and seal on it, put it back in the fridge, then I can take the press and seal off and use the onion again on Tuesday or Wednesday.
And here's. Sorry, and there's one other thing too. We've got a store called Chef Kitchen, and you were talking about the packets. They literally sell the ketchup packets, the mayonnaise ketchup, all the mustard, the salt and pepper, all that stuff in packets in big old boxes. So knock yourself out. Go get the individual packets. And then the second,
yeah.
I'm sorry. I just want to say the second thing I wanted to say is conservatives need to change the acronym from DEI to DIE. And just tell it to die and go away. It needs to be division, diversity, inclusion, and equity. Die. Go away. We don't want to hear it anymore.
Well, I don't want that to be taken the wrong way, but yes. I don't know. When you heard that report, did you think to yourself, has this man never? Even if, let's say you're very wealthy and successful, let's say, as a CNN correspondent, you're able to DoorDash it, but at some point in your life, you had to go to the grocery store. You had to. You had to. Maybe you didn't. I don't know. Diana, Virginia, go ahead, you evil, heartless babe.
Hey, how are you, Andrew? My comment is that we need to see the crowds for all of these DSA candidates. I refuse to believe that they are speaking to large crowds, and the lopsided media is the only thing that's propping them up. And we need to put informants in the crowds, I don't know what, but we need to show the crowds that don't following that the media is portraying them to have.
Well, you can get a gathering of any, if you can get a gathering of any group of people in what looks like a large number. But they're not. I don't believe for a second they're getting outside of that. Like whatever crowds they are getting, whatever people that are coming to gather, I don't think they're getting far outside of that.
Right. Yeah, that's my point. I mean, they always diminished Trump rally sizes, but yet then here they're only focusing on these crazy communists and not showing the crowd. And I firmly believe that's all that's showing up. They don't have any other support outside of the lunatics that show up to hear these guys speak.
Well, we shall see how their prospects fare when it comes to statewide races. Thank you very much for the call. We didn't get to this to Angie Nixon. We maybe play tomorrow. This nut has no chance. Zero chance in Florida.
Current movie phase.
All right, that's it for me. Hannity next. Levin, Stacey Washington. We are right, they are wrong. That's the end of the story. The arguments on this radio program cannot be broken in 20 years. Sirius XM Patriot.
Donate your car and help support Tunnel of Towers. The process is quick and simple, and the proceeds from your generous car donation will go to support the good work that T2T is doing throughout our community. Any car's accepted, running or not, and we will pick it up for free. So if you have an extra car and you want to help T2T to help our first responders and our dedicated veterans, simply call T2T at 844-BRAVEUS. Avoid the hassle trying to sell that old car. Instead, donate it and help Tunnel the Towers. That number again to donate your car and support Tunnel the Towers is 844-BRAVEUS. That's 844-BRAVEUS. Or simply donate your car online and today really does make a difference. So call Tunnel Towers today at 844-BRAVEUS. I'm Charles Payne. I believe the stock market is the greatest wealth-generating machine in history. And today's market is delivering historic windfalls for those who know where to look. Stock gains so powerful they have the power to change your life. My new book, Undeniable Windfalls, will show you where these opportunities exist right now and how I use my proprietary 3-step formula to spot, lock in, and pull the trigger on windfall stocks before they jump to life heights. It's how I find my own windfall gains, and now you can learn how to find them for yourself. My one mission is to help every American use the stock market to create their own wealth. So today, I'm going to give a copy of Undeniable Windfalls for free.
To claim your free copy of Undeniable Windfalls, text the word radio to 505-505. Just cover shipping while supplies last. Again, text radio to 505-505. Text radio to 505-505. Text radio to 505-505 right now.
Messaging data rates may apply.
Freedom never gets old. Celebrating America 250. Sirius XM Patriot 125.
News this hour from Town Hall. Jason Walker. National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Authority in DePaul says at least 800 people are missing. The death toll for the country's flash floods has now risen to at least 165. Authorities say a glacial collapse and a massive surge of water and mud through mountain valleys, destroying roads, burying buildings, and cutting off communities. Across the border in Tibet, hundreds remain unaccounted for as helicopters and rescue teams continued searching for survivors. That is correspondent Ken Morgan reporting. It is a landmark decision in the history of the National Football League.
And if you're going to play a football game in January, well, you might as well play it in Honolulu.
The league announced Wednesday they will no longer hold the game with top players from the AFC and NFC that has been held nearly every year since 1951. Instead, 88 players will be named as Pro Bowlers to be recognized in Los Angeles after the season. At the owners' meeting in Atlanta, NFL Executive Vice President Peter O'Reilly described it as a shift from the game to the honor, saying a Pro Bowl selection will return to its original purpose, honoring the best of the best. The game has waned in popularity. League officials say the decision should sit well with many players who said they don't want to risk injury for an exhibition game. I'm Jennifer King.
A court in Maryland has ruled that a redistricting amendment cannot go on the November ballot. Democrats had approved a proposed constitutional amendment earlier in the month. If passed by voters, it would pave the way to redraw congressional districts before the 28th election. But a judge ruling yesterday, lawmakers closing arguments beginning in